Thought we'd do something a bit different today. This is the JIL SX400. Now, a lot of you would remember, even if you used to come into the initial shop that I used to work in at Jensen Electronics back in Adelaide, we had stock of the SX200s. Well, there actually was an SX100, then there was the SX200, and you could buy the whole expander kit to get 16 memories, wasn't it, into 32, I think it was, or something like that. But we never, these were imported by GFS Electronics in Melbourne, and to my knowledge, unless my boss just didn't decide to bring them in and just bought in the 200s. The 400 I never saw in Australia. I could be wrong, and it could just be that GFS didn't think we were worthy of them, maybe. Anyway, they were a really nice looking scanner, and when I say they were, I haven't actually seen one before until this one came along, and this came from a good mate of mine, Ross, VK3NJ, and I bought his slightly exaggerated scanner collection. When I say exaggerated, you'll think I am exaggerating when I tell you how many scanners Ross had. A lot, anyway. One day I'll show you the full collection of scanners from Ross. It's quite something. It's a bit like some of the CBs that came from the other Ross, VK3MY from Strictly Ham. You know, just when you think you're finished looking at the whole lot, there's more. Well, yes, the two Rosses have got that in common. Anyway, look, nice basic look, you know, a lot of ways. I like it for the layout more so than on the SX200. They had more of a sloped type of front on them. Probably about 3/4 size to this unit here. And but you know, look, they had memories. You could just go in there and I think from memory, I've got to remember. I said a memory just before. I think that was right. Then I've got to go hold that button there. Oh, well, we'll find out, because I had a memory in here. Well, I haven't done too well there. Okay.
Oh my God! To win, head over to triplem.com.
Well, that's good. Somehow I've overwritten the memory that I had in there. Now I'm on just commercial FM stations at the moment. I'll turn that down for a tick. But obviously, pretty easy. I mean, if you want to put 147 point. The only thing you have to remember is that they did have narrow and wide, also AM and FM. And I do like the layout. It was always not so obvious on the 200s, where this has come up pretty well. From memory, let's try. I think they went up to 512 point. Okay, well, can we go up from that? Oh, they might have. Okay, so maybe this was. See, the SX200 went up to 512 megs. All right, so 612. I don't know. No, okay. So where does it go to? 599 point. No. Oh, you got me interested now. I don't think it goes all that much further. I'm pretty sure it's 512 on the old ones. Now I'm just pushing buttons to try and get a number come up. 514. Maybe we go the other way. We just go above. Okay, so. Let's go 520. Take a bit of a gamble. All right. Okay. I won't try and even guess how far it goes up. You know, it's probably on the back of it. Let's have a look. Do you like my antenna? Screwdriver, crocodile lead, plugged into... yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Okay, so 26 to 520. Now, I have to check. Maybe the 200s went to 520. Maybe 512 I'm wrong on. Be interesting. One of the things to be very aware of, very aware of. So they use a 13.8 CB plug, and 9 times out of 10, the red will always be the separate pin on the far side here, negative on the other side. They do a bit different on these things. So you plug your normal CB lead in there, you're going to reverse polarity it very fast. As you can see, the positive is actually on the pin which you wouldn't expect it to be on, and the negative is on the far left-hand side there. And then they do run a memory wire there, which probably means I just lost my memory because I'm not actually hooked up to that at the moment. A few things on the back of it, though. There's a 10.7 out, so obviously to run a pan display. So, you know, I thought that was quite interesting, and a 455, and the VC out. So probably the 10.7 is the thing that most people would be thinking was a little bit before its time. Little RF attenuator in there, and then they've got some auxiliary, which they actually had these record boxes you could get for them, and there was a remote control module. Now I think that just comes off there, and it's a there we go. That plugs in there. There's some rubbish in there. Okay, I might clean that out. But yeah, so there was a remote control that you could get from them as well, and I'll put that on after. But I doubt very much that we're going to see one of those remote controls in my lifetime. Well, look at that. Must have some sort of little capacitive setup in there, because it has remembered the 520. And it does remember the two memories that were in there. And so 26 to 520. No sideband on this, so anybody that aspires to listen to anything on sideband, no, that's not going to work. Just strictly AM, FM. But hey, if you want to listen to 104.9, like so, wideband would help. And probably got to plug my antenna back in, I'd say. Amazing what happens when you put your screwdriver back in. But yeah, look, they're really more of a collector's item. Today's usage would be pretty limited. Just turn that down a bit. Look, they do have scan controls so that you can set your limits, etc., and up and top and bottom limits. A lot of the analog stuff we used to do a lot more of, probably in the 90s and 80s, 90s, and maybe even up to early 2000s. But this is still a nice, just dial in your frequency, either punch it up if you want to sort of take it either side of it. You can just do that, and it moves around quite easily. They do have a squelch, interesting enough, for narrow and wide. So at the moment, obviously an FM station, we're on wide squelch, and if we were listening to, say, 147 point enter, we'd go back to a narrow. Okay, and I thought I'd just hook up a onto 147, just hook up a 9700. Oh, it's hearing that. Should see, I've got no antenna in at the moment, so that's not bad. It's hearing that into a dummy load on the 9700, and obviously if we put that antenna back in, it'll get a little bit stronger again. Just didn't want to overload it too much in the room here, but as you can see, plenty of signal. Yeah, so anyway, look, that's fine. So look, just an old sort of relic from the past that probably doesn't interest everybody, I'm sure, but because we didn't have one, that was one of the prime reasons that I sort of found myself thinking, what do you got there, Ross? and to be honest, yes, the first time I've seen one was this one, like in the flesh. Was I'd seen like in magazines and bits, and many years ago, but long after that, I was at my time at Jensen Electronics, but as I said, it's one that sort of really got past us in the day. It was one that we didn't stock. So, of course, it was of interest when it came in to the shack here. All right, well, look, I won't bore you for too long. The SX400, not one you'll see every day. Probably not one you're going to use every day either. I might have had the
to sunscreen mesh, which reduces glare but leaves the view.
It's probably a good FM radio these days. Sort of. Don't get me wrong. You can listen to aircraft. It can listen to a lot of things that are still, able to be listened to. Obviously, 118.2 and back to AM. Oh, it actually, look at that. It actually knew to go at AM, so that's good. So yeah, it's still good for aircraft sort of listening and things like that, I'm sure. All right, the 73s, just a short one today. Just running through something that as I'm doing a big cleanup. And I do mean a big cleanup. We've been really busy today. Just I had a bit of a sick day yesterday. Unfortunately, my birthday yesterday. I was a bit crook, but anyway, that happens. But we're just kind of trying to get some of these shelves sorted out. As you see, they're starting to get a little bit of order to it. I still wouldn't like to, profess that anything is. Oh, look at all the rubbish in front at the moment. All right, more Jesus. But I had to redistribute the weight a little bit. I made a big statement that I was going to change these shelves out, and then I realised when they were starting to bend, as you can see, that I hadn't changed them out. And I thought, well, before they fall down, like someone had suggested on one of my other YouTube videos, maybe an idea to move some things around. But anyway, it's been a good day. From the other point of view, we're decluttering a lot of these shelves over here. So just starting to get a lot of the gear out of there, and we've got a lot of sort of newer stuff I want to put in there. So it's a mess, but we will get there. All right, all the best to you. 73s from VK3CM. This is the JIL SX400, and certainly a bit of a rare beast. Cheers.